We finally have an answer to why the mighty Red Bull has been losing. Max Verstappen himself finally admitted that the RB20 has always had issues, even during their most dominant stretch. So, what's wrong with it? Let's hear from the Flying Dutchman in today's video. Max Verstappen had a tough Monaco Grand Prix weekend, culminating in a 6th-place finish, which is the first time this season he hasn't made it to the podium. Verstappen arrived at Monaco after winning 5 out of the 7 Grand Prix so far. But he expected a more challenging race on the narrow and winding streets of Monte Carlo. As the sessions went on, Verstappen's expectations came true, with him unable to qualify above 6th position. He found himself trailing behind the Ferraris, McLarens and George Russell's Mercedes, thanks to the RB20's difficulties with bumps and curbs. Verstappen's race day prospects took a hit when an early red flag disrupted his strategy of starting on the longer-lasting hard tyres, instead of the more aggressive mediums. The early red flag provided an opportunity for the Ferraris and McLarens, which had started on mediums, to switch to hards using the free swaps allowed in the pit lane. This move allowed them to navigate the race more comfortably until the finish line. Verstappen, who began in 6th place between the Mercedes drivers, converted his starting position but faced challenges throughout the race. For most of the race, we were all driving like 4 seconds off the pace, I think. The red flag basically ruined it a bit because then everyone had a free pit stop. Some, of course, like we did, had to then switch to the medium, and we knew that was going to be really hard to the end. For us, there was a lot of management to the end, and that didn't really make it enjoyable. The people on the hard tyres, towards the end, they probably could push a bit more, but on the other hand, everyone was quite careful. No one really wanted to stress their tyres too much. Because you can't pass around here, so it was not really exciting. It's a bit of a shame. Verstappen was asked if he believes that Red Bull's disappointing performance in Monaco is just a temporary setback, considering their pursuit of another championship double. He responded by saying, "We know that some tracks just really don't suit our car at the moment. Some tracks that are still upcoming won't really be that good for us, but then also some tracks will be better for us. We know." I think the positive thing out of this weekend is that it really highlighted our weakness, and that's what we have to work on. Max Verstappen pointed out a core issue that hurt Red Bull's Monaco Grand Prix performance, revealing a problem that had been overshadowed by their car's superiority since 2022. Verstappen mentioned that the team's vulnerability over bumps and curbs has been exposed, making the car feel more like a go-kart during driving. Red Bull has faced challenges right from the start of the Monaco GP weekend, continuing a difficult period for the usually dominant team in this era. This follows a tense race at Imola where Max Verstappen barely held on to victory against McLaren's Lando Norris, who had previously won over him in Miami. Verstappen clarified that Red Bull isn't grappling with a new problem, but rather one that has been there since the introduction of ground effect cars in this era. This issue was previously hidden by Red Bull's supremacy, but has now come to the forefront. "It's like I'm running without suspension," Verstappen explained. "So it's just jumping around a lot, not absorbing any curb strikes or bumps or camber changes. In the last corner, the amount of times that I just jumped almost into the wall, it's pretty incredible. It's also not something new, we've had this problem since 2022. For the last 2 years, I think we had a car advantage. So then it gets masked a little bit because we gain in the corners where the curves and the bumps are not that much of a limitation. But with everyone catching up naturally when you're not improving your weakest point, you get found out." That's what happened this weekend. Verstappen said that the car's feel in Monaco this year was similar to how it was in 2022 and 2023. But during those years, Red Bull's strength in other aspects of the car enabled them to secure victories, initially with Sergio Perez and then with Verstappen in 2023. The Dutchman expressed his surprise at how competitive he remained with the other leading cars, despite a mistake on his final qualifying lap. Even after the error that left him 6th on the grid due to a wall tap, he was less than 3/10 away from pole position. When asked where he would have placed without that incident, Verstappen acknowledged being surprised by his close proximity to the front runners despite the challenging circumstances. He said, "I'm pushing flat out. The car is just super tricky. When it's turn 1, suddenly I go over the bumps again and it snaps on you. There was nothing that was a big mistake. The car just is literally on a knife edge to drive." Verstappen referred to the issue as a fundamental problem that couldn't be resolved quickly even with the introduction of the RB20. When asked about fixing it within the current season, Verstappen sounded unsure about its immediate resolution. Yeah, supposedly. But it didn't happen. Well, first of all, we need to understand what it is, and we don't. We'll work hard to try to find the problem and try to get rid of it, but I don't know if we can do that this year, or we'll have to wait for next year. If we knew, we would have of course fixed it. Clearly we don't. Monaco is the third consecutive challenging weekend for Red Bull, yet Verstappen clarified that each of these difficulties stemmed from different issues. He explained, "Probably in Miami we didn't get the balance correct, and also maybe the tyres. In Imola we managed to turn it around quite well, but because of all the problems we were probably not on top of the tyres, especially the hard tyre. Overall the performance was okay, but I knew this was going to be one of our most difficult weekends with everyone catching up as well. I'm just aware we are not perfect. We need to work. We need to understand our limitations more and try to work on that. Monaco might showcase the severity of Red Bull's problem, but Verstappen warns Red Bull fans that it will continue to pose challenges at other circuits as well. Some tracks where there aren't bumps, you still have to ride curbs. There are definitely some tracks on the calendar which are not ideal for us, but there are tracks which will suit our car probably more. We know where we have to work on. There is one clear direction where we're still lacking quite a bit of performance, so already if we can fix that, our car will be better on every single track." In the title race, Verstappen still a 31-point lead over Charles Leclerc, who won his home race at the Monaco GP, chipping away at the gap. The Dutchman shared his thoughts on potentially being chased by the Monegasque driver, saying, "I don't even think about that. The title race is so long, anything can happen. One bad race won't alter the title. I know that to win a title you need to be consistent, and that's what we have to try to be." The domination Red Bull, Max Verstappen in particular, has experienced over the last few seasons has made the team's development direction relatively simple compared to other teams. But moving forward, this could become more challenging. This sets the stage for a competitive drive from teams like Ferrari and McLaren as the season progresses. The idea that Red Bull might be facing internal challenges, as suggested by Jos Verstappen, could be worth considering given recent developments. This weekend has added more evidence to the notion that competition in Formula One is tightening up. While Verstappen and Red Bull are expected to continue winning, there's a growing possibility of other teams securing victories as well. Monaco was a unique track, and we likely won't see many weekends like that for the rest of the season. But on tracks that suit their strengths, we can expect increased competition at the front. This will certainly pose a more serious threat for Verstappen, but it also gives him opportunities to demonstrate his exceptional skills and adaptability. With the RB20 finally falling off its high horse, is Max Verstappen up to the challenge of winning without the supercar he once had? Tell us your thoughts in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.